Today, we're looking at something you and I might not think twice about, but it could mean everything to the survival of a product or even an entire category. We're talking product names, and new research suggests they can actually make or break a product's success. We're talking with Olga Khessina, an associate professor of business administration at Gies College of Business. You've co-authored a new paper on this very topic, and you looked at high-velocity industries specifically. These are categories where a lot of new products are in and out of the market quickly. They have a short window to gain viability and adoption, and an informative name could be the key there. In this paper, you studied the optical disk drive market. Why was this a good setting for this project?
It's a high-tech, high-velocity industry, which is pretty interesting because it was one of data storage markets. So it was fascinating for me to understand how it works, how companies compete, win or lose competition, survive or die. But from the perspective of this research, what's even more important is that the data on this industry was really good. And to do this kind of research requires very good data in order to be persuasive in empirical tests. So what makes this data special is two major factors. First of all, it covers all producers and all products that existed in this market from its beginning in 1983 through 1999, where this industry started experiencing going on the decline, right? So I observed the whole period and I have information on all companies and all products. Also, what's great about this data is that it covers companies in the whole world, which makes it very unique. Finally, because I wanted to show that names matter, the challenge always to persuade people that it's names that drive the effect of interest and not just underlying product quality. To do that, I would need data that would allow me to control for quality. And this data was great because it has very detailed information on technical parameters of each product and quite detailed information about producers of these products. So that's why I picked this industry, right? For it's great from the statistical point of view in terms of persuading people that we found what we found. It's generalizable beyond one country, and it's just an interesting market.
You mentioned you looked at the years from 1983 to 1999. This was a time of explosive innovation. New optical disk drives were popping up all the time. On average, 5 new product categories every year, and 4 of the old ones would disappear. At any given time, there were hundreds of products competing for attention. So how do you stand out? What did your research find about the importance of names in this space?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of new products were introduced every single year. Customers usually have a choice among hundreds of products. What's interesting about this industry and high-tech industries in general, companies often don't pay much attention to names, and majority of names are not informative. That's another reason why we pick this industry to see, can managers actually leverage names to get an advantage? And this is what we show in this paper. Then when there are a lot of new products and new product categories that customers have difficulty making sense of, to stand out in this mass and to attract at least initial attention, name could be very helpful, especially in industries like that, where many companies don't use informative names. And by informative name, we understand any kind of name that helps a customer to make sense of the product.
These informative names are like little beacons of clarity in a sea of chaos, and it makes sense. The name is the first thing a consumer notices about a product. In the paper, you draw a contrast between a product named 4020i CD writer and one named TXM3801F1. A good name can reveal key features of the product. It also tells us about a product's place within a broader category. And that's especially important when you're dealing with new tech, something a consumer might not be familiar with. And you found that these informative names don't just help the individual product, right? They can actually benefit the entire product category.
Informative name really can help to attract attention in these markets. And it can happen in two different and related ways. The most obvious way that it happens is a company gives a product an informative name, and it helps a customer to make sense of this product. What's completely new in our paper is that we show that there is a second process that's going on, that products can benefit from informative names, not just when they have informative names themselves, but when other products in the product category or niche, how we call it, have informative names. So a product can piggyback on informative names of other products. In this way, attract attention as well. And the way it works is that when a product category has a lot of products with informative names that attract attention of customer to themselves, there are also processes that help the product category as overall to benefit from this attention to selective products, which can later spill over to all products in the product category, including those that don't have informative names themselves. So what we showed that there are two ways to stand out. First, a product may have an informative name itself, and it helps to attract attention. And the second way, a product would attract attention if it's a member of the product category, which has many products with informative names. And in this case, it doesn't even need to have an informative name itself. All it needs to do is to be a part of this product category that has other products with informative names.
Informative names act as a signal to help customers really quickly grasp the value of that specific category. You see a CD drive with a 40x speed right there in the name, and suddenly the whole category starts to make more sense in your mind. And these well-named products, they actually become kind of prototypes, like a perceptual magnet. They draw attention to similar products that are nearby, even those that have less clear names. It's like a well-lit storefront that draws customers to the whole block. Now, this isn't just about a single product in isolation. It's about the whole picture. And your research found that the density of informative names in a niche, so how many products have these clear names, makes a huge difference.
Exactly. A niche, a product category, in a sense, if it has 15 products with informative names, it would attract more attention to the niche than a niche that has only one product with an informative name or no products with an informative name. So this is what we mean by density, how many products. The higher the density, the more attention the product category can potentially attract to itself, and meaning to all other products in that category.
Okay, so this all seems great. It makes perfect sense. Everybody should add informative names to their products. However, you suggest there could be a downside to that. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but it's possible that having too many informative names in a category could backfire?
Yes, exactly. It could be too much of a good thing. Overall, when there are a lot of products in the product category, they compete for customer attention. What we say is that negative competition can be moderated when there are a lot of products with informative names and they attract more attention to the niche. They compete for customers, but if they manage to attract attention of more customers, competition is not going to be as intense. But what about the situation you described when a lot of products, or maybe most of the products, or all of the products in the niche have an informative name? In this case, we think it's possible that the phenomena we call informative overcrowding becomes important. They attract more attention, but it's not enough attention to compensate for how many products the niche hosts. It's like too many products cannot be compensated by the additional attention because customers buy only limited number of products. And if there are too many choices, they would buy some, but they will not buy others. I can imagine there are industries where most products have informative names. Then the benefit that comes from informative names becomes diluted and becomes too much of a good thing, and companies cannot benefit anymore, or they benefit less than in industries like the optical disk drive, where there is no informative overcrowding.
So you looked at optical disk drives for this paper. What other industries do you think this could reasonably apply to, and what should folks in those industries take away from this paper?
We think it can apply to any industry that's high velocity, where a lot of new products get introduced all the time and then don't stay on the market too long. And it's challenging for customers to make sense of new products. And actually kind of interesting, when we were working on this paper, people were asking, okay, you look at the period like in 80s and 90s, when internet wasn't a thing, right? Now we have internet and you can just go and search any kind of product you need and make sense of it. Perhaps it would be true for in the market like optical disk drives, where customers had to analyze on average like 200 products a year. Internet could be helpful, but internet and modern technologies also made possible existence of industries which don't have just hundreds of new products on the market in a given year. There are modern industries, and I'll give an example in a second, that have thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of products on the market every year. Nowadays, about 300,000 new books are introduced every year. Overall, there are 29 million total titles on the market. It's like, whether you have internet or not, like, how do you even start? Where do you look, right? Smartphone apps. About 900,000 new smartphone apps introduced every year, with 4.5 million total apps on the market. 75,000 new music albums with 4 million total titles on the market. So these are examples of very high velocity industries. Not all of them are tech, right? Phone apps are tech, books and musical albums are not tech, but they all share the same characteristics of that too many products on the market, too many new products at a such high magnitude that internet itself cannot solve that, right? When you try to figure out what new music I want to try it out, or what kind of new phone app I want to add to my library, you need to start somewhere. And when you open what's available, you'll just get lost. So you need to find a way how you're going to narrow down your potential choices. And informative names could be super helpful here. Like if you look for the phone app to lose weight, apps that have words that suggest they're like some kind of dieting apps would pop out to your attention more easily than names that you look and you don't know what the app is about. So we think it applies in modern world even more than before internet and new technologies were an issue, exactly because new technologies made the number of new products available in the market in some industries just the scale is just mind-boggling to me.
So what we're learning is it's not enough to just be clear. You have to be clear in a way that sets you apart. You need to strike that balance between clarity and then a touch of distinctiveness. This paper shows us the power of a well-crafted name, how it communicates value and helps a product stand out from the crowd. That was Olga Khessina, Associate Professor of Business Administration at Gies College of Business. The paper is called The Role of Informative Names in Niche Dynamics and Product Survival in a High-Velocity Industry, and it was published in Journal of Management Studies. You can read more about this and other research from the college at giesbusiness.illinois.edu.